nice evening, isn't it? And it was a nice evening. Now, here's something strange, too, that before I got there, it was a perfectly blue sky. And there was this one tiny little whiff of a cloud that you could see through it, but really small, that it was way up there, about 5,000 foot, and there was a rainbow coming out of it. And I stopped the car 3 times because that rainbow was behind me for almost 70 miles.
Oh, wow.
In a perfectly blue sky with this little, just this tiny little whiff of a cloud. And in my earlier days, I worked in weather, so I'm pretty familiar with what's going on up there. And it was just, I stopped the car, I took a photo of it, but stopped the car several times just to look up there, and it kept like the same distance behind me for like 70 miles. It was the strangest thing I'd ever seen. Well, until I got to the cemetery, then that was the strangest thing. But it was just a really weird day. But for anyone who wants to get close to evil, travel the Ohio River, because that is the strangest place you can go.
Oh my gosh. What do you think Mothman is, Fritz?
Well, the Mothman is a winged creature with red eyes, kind of a dog face, and, it has some different attributes. But my belief is that the Mothman was brought over here by the Amorites, who were the Adena, and was the demon Piazu, the same demon, that little demon figure that you would see in The Exorcist. Now, here's what's interesting. Native Americans had a legend of a winged, red-eyed, dog-faced creature with, some reptilian attributes, etc., but similar to Pazuzu, but they called it Piasu. So instead of a Z and S, which is the only difference, and an S and a Z are interchangeably etymologically. So they have Piasu. Over there is Pazuzu, but they're both red-eyed, dog-faced, winged demons. And so my belief is that's who it is. But oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask. He's the god of what?
Pazuzu was originally the god of the wind, and then I think at some point too he had something to do with fertility. So it wasn't necessarily a bad demon, but it was a demon. And so whenever you get into that whole demon realm, you're playing with fire. Right.
As a paranormal investigator, I pretty much guarantee you I don't play with the demon stuff. It's like not in my pay grade. That's what I joke about. You guys, we're going to open up the phone lines. Don't forget you can call in at 888-919-2355. You can Skype us, or you can put it up in the chat room and talk to Fritz personally. So, oh my gosh, Fritz, that's probably one of the most credible, believable theories on who Mothman is. It's the first one I can say, yes, I agree with that.
And what's interesting is that cemetery that I was in, I later found that someone else had an encounter with Mothman. It was sitting in one of the trees of that cemetery, and that cemetery contains a lot of the bodies of the people that died when the bridge collapsed.
Oh my! Did you get the name of that witness?
Did I what?
Did you keep the name of that witness?
No.
Oh, Fritz, we have a question from the Kentucky Truth Seeker, and he is asking, is it true that there have been a lot of UFOs and a few crop circles around the mounds?
I talked to the Cleveland ufology group, and there was a fellow doing some studies on the proximity of mounds to the crop circles, and he thought there was a correlation. But there's something I just found in a work by Squire from 1845 of a few earthworks that were in Illinois, and they look like crop circles. They are geometric. It looks like it was these geometric designs, and I was actually thinking earlier tonight I was going to send these up to UFOlogy. But if I showed you these, you would think that they were crop circle patterns, but they were actually earthworks over in Illinois. So, yeah, there may be something to that.
I agree. Sonic Youth asks, how many giants have really been found around the world that can be proven real?
Well, there's been a lot of giants, and if you read my book of the 300 accounts, you would read at the end of about 200 of them, the Smithsonian has been contacted and are en route. So when the Smithsonian Institute got word of a giant skeleton, they dropped everything and they went to that location to get the skeleton. They did not want those to get out. And there's word is that some of the skeletons are actually in a vault in the Smithsonian that no one can go into because of asbestos, and then other people have learned that a lot of them ended up in the ocean. They dumped them to get rid of them, so there was no evidence.
Oh my gosh, I hope that's not true. Oh my gosh. Fritz, we had a case, and I say we as in Michael Rambacher, we're co-hosts, but we're also members of E.P.I.C. And we have a case in Pennsylvania, and it's already had an archaeological dig, and they found remains that there was 160 plus, and now that and this was back in the 70s, and now we're finding all this paranormal activity from UFOs. There's cryptid reports, but we find these going back into the 1800s. We even found references to some of the exact same activity recorded back with Lewis and Clark. And of course, the American Indians were also talking about how they don't go over the mountain because it's cursed. They go around it. And one of the things that we're having a hard time with is we cannot get any information on these remains. So I was wondering if you were aware of any giants in around, the mountain side of Pennsylvania, because when we call and inquire, they're like, well, we had them, but I don't know where they are, and I don't know what happened to them. And now we're really wondering what the big conspiracy or what the big problem is, why we can't have the documentation on these skeletal remains that we do suspect were giants. So do you know of any information in Pennsylvania or?
Yeah, I have. I probably have 25 different cases where they found large skeletons in Pennsylvania. And so one of them may be the same site that you're talking about.
Right. They honestly, there was 100 and I believe 63 found together. We did get from the archaeologists, the reports came back that they died suddenly. They all died together, but they died of a tooth infection. I'm like, well, that's one hell of a tooth infection, people, when, for centuries later, Indians won't walk through that area. And, I'm very suspicious, Fritz, and I'm going to find them skeletons. You watch.
Well, if the Smithsonian got a hold of them, they're gone.
You'll
never see them again. But you got to realize, here's an interesting story that kind of goes with that. There's a skull from Circleville, Ohio, where there's a circle and a square. Right next to it was a mound, and in that mound, there's a picture of the skull that was in the Ohio Historical Society publications from like 1905. I sent a picture of that skull to a guy named Doug Owsley, who's the foremost expert on skulls in America. And I lied, and I said, I need a racial ID on this, and I kind of lied of where it was or where it came from. I didn't really give him any information. He sent back, he said, it has both Mongolian and Caucasian attributes, which is the same as it should, because the Mongolians and the Cro-Magnon mix was kind of who these people were. And then I told him who it was. This is from a mound in Ohio, and he did the whole hibbity-dibbity on me and backtracked. But that was his initial That was his initial assumption of who it was. So you have to know is the Smithsonian, every archaeologist, are not going to lose everything they've done, and their careers are on the line about this, and they're not going to let it out. And the Smithsonian and the universities and the DNR, they're all working together, and any kind of information that is going to go against the known paradigm of these are mysterious, unknown Native Americans that have no affiliation to modern tribes, anything that go against that, they're going to move heaven and hell to make sure that nobody finds out about it. So the thing to do is either to find them yourself or to be right there when they're getting them. But anything is going to be immediately covered up.
Well,
but yeah, there's a lot of stuff there in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Those pits are in Pennsylvania.
Right. Oh my gosh. Fritz, what is next for you? What's coming up? What can we look forward to? And please tell me you're writing another book.
After 2 volumes, every once in a while I'll think about that. I would like to do possibly another mound guide, but I'm going to cut it down to there's 222 burial mound and earthwork sites in the book I have now, and I'm thinking about cutting it down to like the top 100 and really things that you'll have access to, and then put GPS coordinates, really good maps, and then sell it for really cheap, like through a Kindle or something, but by lowering the page count and that. But now there's a site that I'm going to be going to here soon in Charleston, Indiana, where at one time it's on Devil's Backbone, where there was a 50-foot dressed wall as part of this. And then now we have found something as large as Fort Ancient near Gallipolis and Point Pleasant. So a huge earthwork, a huge serpentine earthwork with a stone plaza. And so there's still some sites out there that are incredibly large that nobody knows about. So we'll be investigating those here in the next couple of months. But the mound season is winter.
Really?
Nothing's preserved, nothing's mowed. So if you want to go see the mounds, wait until about Thanksgiving, and that's the time to go. Because the woods need to be clear and everything off of them, and stuff in Ohio, even like Fort Hill. You go in there in the summer, you probably maybe get eaten by a snake. Some giant snakes are up there. But it's so overgrown you won't see anything. So mounds and going to the Ohio Valley and in Indiana and West Virginia, it's a winter thing. So the mound season goes from about Thanksgiving till April 15th. And it is just an incredible thing to do.
Well, we've got half the people in the chat room all excited saying, good, it's coming, November road trip, let's pack the cars. And, you might see us out there, Fritz, one time. That'd be pretty awesome.
And it's free. And it's absolutely free. You can go to these parks. You can go to these different places. It doesn't cost you anything. But just get my book because you have to see the serpents. There's serpents everywhere. Everything is a serpent effigy. And to know the significance of springs and rock outcrops. And what's interesting is, and we talked a little bit about UFOs and that, most of like these hilltop enclosures that are stone or were built to be serpent effigies are built on limestone outcrops. And then, of course, limestone is a big conduit in paranormal activity.
Oh, yes, it is.
You'll find a hot spot, and you'll get it on limestone, and they exclusively built on these limestone outcrops. And limestone where you could see that back in the day there was probably thousands of snakes on these hills. And then on the top is this serpent effigy. And to know what it was, the energy of what in the heck that they were doing up there, like at Spruce Hill, which is a giant serpent that you have to walk across an isthmus to get to. the rocks were heated so hot that they fused together. And it's just such a mystery when you go to these places of like, what in the heck was going on up here?
I'm with you. We have another question from our little darling, Sonic Youth, and her question is, do you think there's going to be a return of the giants?
A return of the giants? Well, no, I don't think so. I think they've come and gone. And really what we're looking at is we're looking at the end of a species. We're looking at the end of a race. And that race is not going to come back. But they could come back if people would acknowledge the sites and start to visit them, and they would become known. And then that would open the door for even more sites to be opened, possibly restored. And I've always believed that, you know, what I'm doing is something that's sanctioned by the big guy, that these were his sons and he wants them saved now.
Absolutely. We have a caller, area code 760. Are you still with us?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm here. I was listening to the show, and it actually took me a long time to even get the number, but from listening to other shows and stuff. But I don't know if it matters if it's any mound in particular, but originally I'm from Wisconsin, and they have, there's these mounds they're right next to Jefferson, or wait, no, it's Johnson Creek, Wisconsin. And originally it was supposed to be like cannibals lived there, but there are these big mounds. I've even walked on them myself, and I don't know if there's anything looking into, but, you know, they're there.
What shape are they in?
They're very big and they're circular.
Oh. The Wisconsin mounds are predominantly effigy mounds, and those were built a little bit later than the mounds in Ohio, but those were the remnants of the Sioux, and more specifically the Winnebago Sioux. And predominantly effigy, but you would find conical mounds. You would find just about mound-wise anything you would find in the Ohio Valley. And it's fantastic what's up there. I mean, they have effigies of these strange-looking men and serpents and everything you can imagine. And
well, that makes a lot of sense.
I'll be in Burlington, Wisconsin on October over Halloween at the Vortex Conference.
Oh wow!
And there's some really strange things around there, but Wisconsin is kind of a haunted place. There's some.
Oh yeah, it's very. It reminds me of like some kind of like old remnants from like the Gothic ages. But yeah, actually, there is a lot of crazy stuff that goes on in Wisconsin. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound weird, but I have a family history with all kinds of different, I guess, private associations. Not me personally, but my family's past, and. Yeah, there's been a lot of crazy stuff in my family history, linked to other races, I guess. Like I don't know how to exactly explain that, but my uncle and my cousins believe that they were abducted, and me as well. But you know, that's another story.
Well, you don't have to convince me. I was really surprised when I went up there. I was just expecting hills and cheese, and investigated a few sites. And Mary, who's up there in Burlington, found this giant serpent, and then another mound that looks like Cahokia in Burlington, along with the serpent mounds. And Yeah, we investigated some sites, but she has an energy vortex up there, like a swirl of energy that comes through the site that she does tours on, and it's really strange, really strange. So,
Caller,
it's a great place to go for Halloween. If anyone's up listening in Wisconsin, head down to Burlington.
All right. I'll let my cousins know because they live in Stevens Point. They'd probably be more than happy to go.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Stop by at Thanksgiving and say hi, or at Halloween.
Thank you so much,
That's
caller,
cool.
for calling in. We really, really appreciate it. And
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you.
Everybody, you have just a couple short minutes to ask a question to Fritz. Fritz, you have a big conference coming up in December as well, don't you?
Yeah, that's the Pythagoras conference, which is December 16th to 18th, and I'll be speaking there. And there's some like 20-some odd speakers in Louisville that will be there.
It looks like an amazing conference. I couldn't believe the guest list. It's definitely the best of the best. I mean, I was just looking through like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it's in Kentucky, correct?
Yes, it is. It's in Louisville, and if anyone's interested in going to that, I have a badge on my blog spot, Nephilim Chronicles blog spot, and there's a badge on there if anyone's interested in going. But it's not too expensive as far as what these things are generally priced at. So anybody that's in this world of the paranormal and somewhat unknown is going to be there. So, yeah, pretty impressive list of people that are showing up to do presentations and workshops and lots of different things.
Exactly. I know that there's a couple of us still trying to work our schedules to get there. A couple of us epic people and some friends. We've got really good friends that live in Kentucky, so we're going to be dragging them too. But I'm really looking forward to that. And I think conferences are important. It's just where you can network with, I don't want to always say like-minded people, but it's just so nice to be in that community. I live in a state that's not very active with some of the other members, unlike Texas or Oklahoma, where they're thick as thieves out there, let me tell you, and I'm about the only one out here. So I always look forward to these things, and so I'm excited about that. And I think there was another question here in chat from our little Sonic youth, and she says, do any of the mounds in the States have giants within them that you know of?
I'm sorry, I didn't get all that. Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. Do any of the mounds still have the giants in them? I guess is what she's asking. Are the mounds? Do you know of any that still have them?
Yes, absolutely. Archaeologists have tried to obliterate the remnants of this civilization, but they have not, and there's still mounds that have not been dug into, and a lot of them were subsurface burials too, and archaeologists a lot of times would only go surface deep. So, there's still about 15 or 16 mounds that you can go to where they had found giant skeletons, and that mound is still there, and you can still go to it. And since some of those were subsurface, there's a good possibility that there's giants in there. And then there's other mounds in Ohio that you can go to that have not been excavated, and there's a really good chance that there's giants in those also. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying before, was when you go to these sites, because these people worship their ancestors and believe that these mounds were like energy fields that could determine whether it was going to be good or bad in the future, even if you're not clairvoyant, which I'm not, and even though, you don't have touch with the other side, which I don't, there is visible energies that you will come across in both earthworks and mounds. And sometimes you'll feel cold spots, chills, goosebumps. There's been many times that I've been up in woods going through these earthworks by myself, and I've seen out of the corner of my eye someone look beyond a tree or like around a tree, like poke their head out.
Right.
And they'll look over there, and you're like, yeah, I saw that. And then a little time, and you might see another one. So it's creepy. It's like walking through a fairy forest or sometimes. And you'll have the isolation of winter and cold, and it's just so cool to go to. So everyone out there, get the book and go to Ohio because it's all free. All you have to do is pay for gas. And you can
guys, that
see
sounds...
some of the most incredible sights in the world.
I have to say, I highly recommend both his books. You guys, it's just, it belongs on your bookshelf after you read them, of course. And honestly, they're just amazing. And it's the second book is kind of a guide as well. So you kind of need them both if you're really interested in this. But what I want to say too, Fritz, is as far as being, preserving some of these, you need someone to chain themselves to one of them mounds or whatever you need. You've got our support 150%. If you need us to show up and help you out, you've got it. So keep our number in case you need us.
Yeah, and the more people that go out and enjoy them and know what they were and know how old they were and know how advanced mathematics and all this other stuff, all this layering of history that's involved in that heap of earth or that earthwork, just the more it's going to be possible to preserve more of them, and those be around in another 100 years for our grandkids and for future generations, because at the rate we're going now, there's nothing going to be left in 100 years.
Right. I want to thank you all for spending your time with us tonight. It's been a great treat, Fritz. I sincerely thank you for an epic voyage that you took us on tonight. You're amazing, amazing guest. And Joe, you rock, my friend. You're my little foundation in case I fell. And I want to remind our audience to be sure to join us next week. OMG, you guys, very special epic voyages featuring the rock stars of cryptozoology. Guest host is going to be Nick Redfern with Ken Gerhardt, only on Inception Radio Network. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Please join us again next Monday evening for Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council's Epic Voyages. I'm Roger Peacock for EPIC. Until next time.